Brother Nashi, how are you? Let us talk about the business of God. Do you know that God is like a business? And in order for your church to grow big, you have to make investments. If you do not make investments, then your church, it is not going to grow big. This is the things that I did in order for my church to grow at the pace at which it is growing right now. My church, it is growing big, and I still want it to be big because as for now, I have just above 200 and something people that attend at my church every day. And even though these are just 200 people, to someone they might be a small number, but considering the fact that I started my church soon after lockdown and I spent about a year and a half, I only had about 10 or 20 people that were coming to my church. And this church of mine, I will say that it is in Joburg. I'm based in South Africa, but I won't tell you exactly where I am. That is why I am just using Joburg. I am based in Joburg and I have this church in a suburb. And you know that when people that stay in the suburbs, when they come to church, when they are wealthy, they will also bring their wealth with them to the church. So this is something that has been helping me. I came to South Africa with basically nothing, but right now I want to thank God because I am driving a Range Rover, something that I never thought will ever happen. And when I am in my car, when I am feeling that air suspension as I am going around, even when I am in Zim with all the bumps, you don't feel anything when you are in a Range Rover. I thank God for the brain that He gave to me because I'm very smart. But there is a tiny problem. Even though I am someone with a higher IQ, but there is a problem, and I never knew that this was going to happen eventually. I arrived in South Africa. Even though I was a preacher, I was a street preacher when I was in Zim. I used to go and preach in First Street, preaching and people inviting them to my church, but they never came. So I said, in Zim, there are a lot of people that are hungry. When people are hungry, they don't care about church. It is all about survival. I said, let me come to South Africa because in South Africa, they are professionals. You have someone who has a house, someone who has a car, who is happily married. When someone is happily married, has a good job, has a nice house, can go to the bank and then can get a loan, that person is more likely to go to church than someone who is hustling like a Zimbabwean. So I said the best place to go and open my church in SADC, it is going to be South Africa. So then I came to South Africa. When I came here, it proved to be very difficult because when I came around, that was when lockdown hit me and I was not fully employed. I was just working at this other small company. And whilst we were working there, then lockdown came around and the boss told us that he was going to call us again to come back to work, but he never called me. I then started preaching for money and praying for people for money. The people in the location, they knew that if you want that pastor to pray for you, then you need to have at least 100 rand. And I would be open with them that if they don't give me the money, then where am I going to get the money to pay rent for the place where they would have found me staying? And for the food as well that I eat. I then realized that staying in the location, it is a waste of time because most of the people in the locations, they are broke anyway. So I said, let me move to the suburbs. I moved to the suburbs where I saw a lot of mega pastors and the rent there, it was very expensive because in the suburbs, you can't just set up a tent. If you are going to rent a church, you have to rent a proper church. So there was a church that was up for rentals and I went there. The rent that they told me that they wanted, it was just too much. I said, I'm going to pray for now in my own house. I then started an online church where I would give sermons online and people were coming in their numbers. But people coming in their numbers does not mean that you're going to make money. because of the things that I was saying in my sermons. I even tried on Facebook, but Facebook refused to give me the money because I was talking about topics that were not okay for their monetization. So I was not even getting anything anyway. So I was relying on the people that will say, Pastor, give us your phone number so that we can send you some e-wallets. That was the money that I was relying on, and it was not even a lot. I just continued thinking of ways which I could help myself to grow this church. And by then I had made a little bit of money because these people that were sending me the e-wallets, I was able to rent a small church there in the suburbs. For years I was struggling. I fasted, I prayed, I cried to God that I wanted people to come to my church in big numbers. It then happened that I went to this other location. Whilst I was there, I met a fellow Zimbabwean pastor who was visiting in South Africa. This pastor comes from Kwekwe, and he told me that his church used to struggle as well, even though he does not have many followers. He is about 1,000 followers around Kwekwe, Gweru, as well as Blawayo. That is where he is based with several branches in his church. And he had gone to Nigeria where they prayed for him. I sold my laptop, my phone, and I borrowed money from a loan shark to buy a ticket to go to Lagos. When I went there, I knew that I was not going to find God, for the man had already told me that I was going to receive a power from the marine spirits, and the marine spirits, they are not from God. So when I arrived there, I was picked up at the airport by two Nigerian men, and then they took me to this other house where I stayed whilst I was waiting for the Grand Master. This man then came and he asked me how big I wanted my church to be. Then he told me that it is far much better to have a smaller church than to be big like your big Nigerian pastors, because when you fall too hard. Since you are big, everyone knows you. He advised me not to speak with the marine spirits and tell them that I want thousands and thousands of followers. Just tell the marine spirits that you want followers who will be able to give you love offering, to pay their tithing, so that you can run your church properly. And then I was taken into the forest. We walked, I think, for 3 hours whilst we were walking in the forest, until we had arrived at this other river where I was told that there was a marine spirit that was staying in that river, and I had to speak with the marine spirit. I was told to undress myself. After I had undressed myself, they rubbed some form of oil on my body, and then I went into the river. I was taken underneath the water. What I saw down there, I can't remember, but the last thing that I remember was that when I was stepping into the water, I saw a beautiful snake that was swimming in the water. But this snake, what made me to keep on looking at it was that it had many colors. It was so beautiful as it was moving around, and then it hit me with its tail, and I fell down. And when I fell down, that was when I drowned, but I don't remember anything after that. And when I came out of the river, I was feeling like I was carrying something on my back. They told me that I had to stay in this other cave. They took me to that cave and I slept there. But throughout the night, I was being tormented by voices of people that were talking to me, the people that I could not even see, but they were talking to me. I went through that ritual of marrying the marine spirit, and I swallowed a seed. They told me that this seed was what was going to help me to grow my church. When I returned back to South Africa 3 days after the final ritual, I was then told to spit out the seed at the place where I wanted my church to be. So in the same neighborhood, that church that I told you about, they were looking for someone to lease the building. That was the church that I decided to go to. And I just entered into the premises. And as I was speaking with the security guard, I just started coughing and I spit out the seed and I just left it there. He did not even know what had really happened, that this was a ritual that I was doing. So I then walked back and I returned back to my place. That security guard did not even understand what had really happened. So, Brother Nashim, after I had done that, within a month, I got a call from this other guy who stayed in another suburb, who said that he had heard about this same pastor that had so much power to pray for people, and he had a business that was collapsing. I went to his office. When I went to his office, his Brother Nashim, it was me just going there to try my luck. I did not even know what I was doing, because I did not know that by then the marine spirits had already taken over and they were now controlling me and they could give me the power. I went to his office and I prayed for him, and his businesses started to run very well. I started to make business. People pay to this very day. They pay to have a one-on-one with me. And there were people that started to come to my church, and we moved to the bigger church. Right now, when I am standing in front of people, do you know that I can see things in the air? When I am looking at people that I am about to pray for, I see their names written in the air, ID numbers, addresses. It is not the Holy Spirit that whispers to me, but it is the guardian angel from the marine kingdom that provides me all of these prophecies. So these people, to tell you the truth, it is the same all over Africa. People, they don't want the gospel. I used to be a street preacher. And if you know that a street preacher is not after money, a street preacher is like John the Baptist preparing for the kingdom of God. And people, they do not want to hear about the kingdom of God. They want to hear about money, how much money they will receive after you would have prayed for them. So this was my backup plan. I started to talk about the prosperity gospel, and a lot of people started to come to my church. And the good thing about my church, why people love to come to my church, it is because the majority of the people that come to my church, they are rich South Africans, and they don't mind even if we talk about money. Sometimes we even have business classes in my church. We can go even for a month without even having like a strong praise and worship, because some of these worship songs that you sing in your churches, do you know that they'll end up even chasing away people from your church? But if you preach mainly about money, giving people business classes, this will help your congregants to become much more wealthier. I can even pay white people who are business financial advisors to come to my church. They don't preach, they just give us a presentation. This has helped a lot of people, even though I am using the marine spirits to strengthen my church. So this is what I have decided to do. I do not want my business to have 1,000 or 10,000, because I know that as a pastor already there are women that have attempted to have me sleep with them. And I know that once you do that, by the end of the day, when they come back to you, they'll say that you raped them. So I make sure that wherever I am, my wife is with me. If you come for a one-on-one in my office, my wife is right there with me, so as to avoid any problems later on in the future of someone saying that he slept with me by force. Yet most women, what they would have done is that they would have seduced you, and after you would have slept with them, they think that she will become the only one. But the thing that she would have done, other 1,000 women will do the same. They will come. Some of them, they can even strip themselves in front of you or pretend like they want to pick up something so that you can see how beautiful they are. So I just focus on making money. Once I have made enough money, like this was what I used to tell myself that once I have made a lot of money, then I'm going to return back to Zim. But the mistake that I did, Brother Nashi, it's like I'm going to be stuck here in South Africa for a very long time because I made a mistake of spitting out the seed that I brought with me from Nigeria here in South Africa. So this is where my shrine is going to be, and I can't return back to Zim and to settle forever. If I go back to Zim, it's all about opening up a branch. But as for now, I am definitely going to be stuck here in South Africa for the next coming years. But what has brought me to your confession channel is I want people to understand something about marine spirits. A marine spirit will never come into your life and then it gives you blessings for nothing. It will want something in return. In my situation, one day I was laughing at myself as I was driving, and I said, what if it happens that in South Africa there is no more drug problems? There are no more people that are mentally ill that are walking in the street. People that are mentally ill, they are always locked up in mental institutions. If South Africa arrives at that place, someone like me, what is going to happen to me? Because I only sleep with my wife when the marine spirit wants. As for now, I last slept with my wife. It was last year around October. That was when I last slept with her. And she understands. I lie to her that I am praying to God and I want to be clean. And in that time, I am supposed to sleep with a mad woman at least twice a week. Every week, I have to sleep with a mad woman. If it is a person that is a drug addict, that person is supposed to be a little bit mad, mentally ill, not someone who is a drug addict, but you can have a conversation with. This marine spirit wants me to sleep only with mad people. So I don't know what will happen if there is a cleanup and you don't find any mad people in the street anymore. I was never told what will happen in that situation. When you post, you will tell me. I'll be there in the comment section. Just give a warning to people out there that in order for you to have a good life, you can use marine spirits. But do you know that marine spirits, they can turn around and then they can bite you so hard and you will regret it for the rest of your life. This is my confession. Just tell me and give me the link here on TikTok. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Let us try to speak with our dear sister in the comment section. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Can you imagine? Your